Most of what your brain does when using an app or a website is automatic. Your eyes scan and your fingers scroll without a single conscious thought. But the moment that flow is interrupted, your brain shifts gears into intense, deliberate focus. This is where active problem solving begins. You have to define where you are, identify where you want to be, and plot a logical course to reach that goal. Trouble arises because product creators are experts in how their systems work, while the people actually using them are almost always novices. This gap is dangerous. Novices navigate an entirely different map of the environment than the people who built it. In their problem space, the perceived boundaries and rules rarely align with the actual system. If a product assumes the user shares an expert-level map, that user will inevitably hit a cognitive wall. They lose their sense of direction, get stuck, and eventually abandon the experience. To see why users get stuck, we have to look at how different people frame the exact same scenario. Take buying a house. A first-time home buyer frames the problem in simple terms. They need to find the specific dollar amount that will convince a seller to accept their bid. An expert looks at that same transaction and sees a dozen moving parts. They are calculating credit scores, predicting inspection failures, and checking the property title for hidden liens. The expert's map is vastly more complex. The mutilated checkerboard problem proves how different maps cause failure. Novices see 62 squares and 31 dominoes, assuming trial and error works, but experts spot the trap. Missing black corners breaks the color ratio, making the board unsolvable. Users usually get stuck because they are trapped inside a poorly defined problem space. They are working hard to solve a version of the puzzle that simply doesn't exist. To guide users out of these traps, designers use sub-goals, tactical milestones that help a person bypass mental blockers. In an escape room, the final goal of exiting is actually a hierarchy of smaller requirements. Reaching that exit requires first accessing a secured container, which might involve deciphering a code found on the other side of the room. These micro-victories keep the player moving toward the end. You see the same nested logic in chess. Achieving checkmate often starts with a move as small as advancing a pawn, for the sole purpose of clearing a path for a bishop. Designers use these sub-goals to reframe the experience. They subtly alter the user's perception of their choices, to make the best path feel like the only logical one. Williams-Sonoma uses this strategy. They place 3 blenders side by side at different price points. By anchoring the $349 model between a budget and luxury option, they frame it as the safest compromise, simplifying the decision-making process. Effective design actively shapes the user's decision-making reality. By layering targeted sub-goals and strategic framing, a product makes the intended path feel intuitive and inevitable. The primary mandate for any product designer is to never assume the user's view of the problem matches your own expert reality. Instead, you must map the user's yellow brick road, the specific, winding path a novice believes they need to take to reach their goal. Pave that road by addressing their questions in a logical, chronological sequence. Before presenting a car lease, a service must first address the user's age, then their credit, and then their insurance. Every successfully answered micro-question incrementally shifts the user's mental model. The path straightens out, and the user evolves from a confused novice into a confident expert. Missing even one critical sub-goal in this sequence breaks the illusion. The user loses their footing and reverts to confusion. True product design is an act of psychological translation. It converts a complex expert system into an accessible, step-by-step journey that anyone can follow.